All right, welcome to the first week of the playoffs right here in the state of Florida on the Central Florida High School Scoreboard Show. I'm Dan LaForest. That is Baylin Trujillo. And as always, AJ Brooks. Guys, finished out the last season. A lot of controversy on who's in, who's out. But the drive to the 305 is alive right here tonight. Guys, Baylin, exciting time. This is what everybody puts on their shoulder pads. Gets ready to go back in August.
Helmets to the right, shoulder pads to the left, boys. Let's get it ready for the off season. Maybe join another spring sport like track or weightlifting or baseball or
wrestling.
Basketball. Go to your training in 7-on-7. I mean, that's next for about 60% of Central Florida right now. The other 40% have another game this Friday coming up. We also have a state championship Central Florida team representing this Saturday. Excited about that. Maybe a back-to-back with Masters Academy. Three. Okay. Wow. All right. Well, just keep on rolling.
We got three of them. No, we got three Central Florida teams in the state championship games.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that. Okay, cool.
AJ, Baylin brings up a good point. Yeah. We're going to talk about that here in a few minutes. AJ, Baylin brings up a good point. It's starting to get into the offseason for the uprising sophomores, juniors, seniors. But there's still some football to be left for the seniors in. We got some all-star games coming up.
Yep. Still got some all-star game. Elite 100 all-star game will be January the 4th. The location is still to be determined, but it'll be here at one of the local high schools in Orlando. So that's always good. Get those guys one more game to play for their high school career. Some of them will get to play on in college. Some of them, it will be their official last football game. So it's bittersweet times.
A lot of things to look forward to. Guys, we've got Andy Villamarza from SB Live joining us tonight. But right now, let's get right into those handful of games from last week. And the final count for the predictions for the 2024 season, Ridge Community edges out the Bulldogs of St. Cloud 27-25, Baylin.
Yeah, this was a good game. Went back and forth. There was that Wednesday night game that was going on actually during the show. I think that was the only time St. Cloud led when we actually first talked about it. And then they scored within seconds after AJ pulled up the score again. So now Ridge Community did that, is going up 8-6. But great game. St. Cloud, I thought they were going to win this game. Obviously, you see there was not right in this prediction. I still think that they had a really good year, even though it's 5-5. They showed themselves offensively that they could really stick around with a lot of teams around here. They had the most explosive offense statistically from a quarterback in Logan King at St. Cloud. So great season to them. But is their season over with, guys? I think they're done.
I believe they are.
Yeah, they're done. Yeah. But Coach Short and the Bulldogs obviously did throw up a lot of great numbers this year. It was exciting to watch them, AJ. You had a feeling, though, that Ridge Community was going to edge this thing out.
Yeah, I had a feeling Ridge would edge it out, which they did. I mean, it was a good game. But just to give a little more credit to some of the guys in this area, Alex Springs, terrific receiver at St. Cloud, over 11 yards receiving, double-digit touchdowns. You got TJ Griffin, who's been a key piece for that whole program for so many years. It feels like he's been there for 8 years. But yeah, St. Cloud played a great game. But Ridge, unfortunately, they won, but they're one of the casualties in this whole playoff thing. They went 7-3, and they're not in the playoffs.
I tell you what, and again, congratulations to the Bulldogs. This was one we had our eyeballs on, guys. Spruce Creek takes care of University 20-14, Baylin.
Yes, was my upset pick of the week. The only one to actually win of the 4 games I picked as the underdog. I don't know if we can really call Spruce Creek an underdog.
I don't think it's an upset though.
I don't. Just because they may have a less record. Spruce Creek we know is a solid football team with a lot of talent, just like University is. It's a great matchup here. Close game with 2 offensive powerhouses here. This was a battle of who was going to stop maybe a couple more offensive possessions than the other, and this is what it turned out to be. Spruce Creek came out with a 6-point win. But University, they are a powerhouse as far as what they do with Malachi Walters. Obviously, he was contained a lot that night. Credit to Spruce Creek's defense, which we just talked about. The Georgia Tech commit had probably a pretty good game against that offense. But, yeah, man, this was a big win for Spruce Creek heading into the playoffs. And both teams, they need some momentum, especially in their region for where they're sitting at.
No doubt about it. AJ, we talked about Spruce Creek beginning of the season. We knew University was returning a lot of talent, but we talked about them at the beginning of the season. We believe the Hawks were going to be contenders, and both of these guys are in the playoffs.
Yeah, both of these are terrific teams. I mean, I know Baylin corrected himself, but yeah, it's not. I don't think it's a upset because Spruce Creek is just as talented. Silver lining for University is it's a wake up call right before the playoffs. So if you want to take a loss, you want to take it now rather than next week or moving forward. So I'll look at it like that for University. On the flip side, for Spruce Creek, they're just building up that momentum to make a playoff push. So I think both of these teams have a lot of promise going into the postseason. So we'll see how it all plays out.
All right. Winter Park and Boone. I was at this game. It was actually a really good game, but the Wildcats take care of business and bounce Boone out of the playoffs, 35-28, Baylin.
Yeah, I'm going to be honest with you, man. Like, I hadn't been picking against Winter Park all year besides the Jones game. I was high on them early where you guys kind of made them believe. You guys need to see something out of them to believe in them because obviously we know about their schedule and how weak it is every single year. But you know what? I picked Boone in here because, again, I'm just looking more for the show and predictions. Boone has a good offense. Winter Park is definitely more, I would say, more talented overall, even though I believe Boone has probably arguably the best receiver overall in the entire Central Florida area in Mizell. But, this is a great game. Dan, you probably have more about this game. All we got was updates from what you were texting us, but it seemed to me like this was a down to the wire last drive, last possession for Winter Park, and they end up coming with a 7-point win.
No, I tell you what, it was hard fought. It was really a close game. It was a great game to watch. AJ, this is one of these bittersweet moments when, you got a team like Boone and the progression and the excitement that they really provided, watching the progression of Sam Johnson and Isaiah Mizell, his last ride. It's almost sad to watch some of these guys not get that opportunity to play in the playoffs, especially with guys with lesser records.
Yeah, you're looking at a team that 5-5, but they easily could have been 7-3, 8-2 with a couple plays here and there throughout the season. But yeah, you talk about the best deep threat in the state, in my opinion, Isaiah. But yeah, Winter Park. Weak schedule or not, I kind of felt like they would win this game. I thought that they were the better team. So we'll see how they fare in the playoffs. Hopefully they can have more success than they have had in previous years, get a win or two. But yeah, this was a pretty good game though.
All right, guys. Masters Academy. Semifinal takes care of Christchurch, 40-29, Baylin.
Yeah, Masters was actually down at halftime here. Believe it or not, they were struggling first half, couldn't get things offensively rolling. Then it became the Jackson Stetcher show second half. I believe he threw about 4 or 5 touchdowns in this football game. It was all through the air, and Masters came away. I don't think Christ School scored a single point in the second half. I believe they were up 29-18 or 29-21 at halftime, and then it just became the Jackson Stetcher show. So they pulled it together. I thought this was the state championship game for the SSAA or SSAC because of how well Christchurch played this year. They were 9-1 coming into this matchup. This would have been Masters' hardest competition other than a team that they played in Jacksonville where they got beat. And now the winner of this would have most likely will win the state title, which now we see as Masters Academy. So great job to Masters. They move on to the state championship to hopefully repeat. And this was a great win. And Jackson Stetcher, you don't know his name, you might want to look him up. He's probably arguably the best freshman in this area, and it's not close.
Yeah, no doubt about it, AJ. A lot of talent on that Masters team, and look forward to see them play. They're actually playing Saturday night. We're going to go over this here in a few minutes for the SSAA state championship game.
Yeah, we're excited to see them Saturday. Jackson, he's that dude. Anytime you have a big-time quarterback, it always gives you a higher % chance to win that game. But Christchurch is a terrific ball club. Birch is over there coaching those boys up. But yeah, congratulations to Masters Academy. And if they were to win Saturday, this would be their third in a row, right? Back to back to back.
I think
Wait a
they've
second.
won. I think overall, I think they've won 4 of the last 6 years.
Yeah.
No, but I thought Jackson got one. I thought he.
Yeah,
Oh yeah,
He did last year's an 8th grader.
Yeah,
This will
yeah.
be back to back for this particular
Yeah.
series. All right, guys, this was the best basketball team basketball game in Central Florida. Flagler Palm Coast edges DeLand 62-57. Baylin.
Whoa.
Crazy.
Yeah, that's crazy. I don't know. I don't even know what to say because Flagler Palm Coast came in here 8-1. Now they're 9-1, and DeLand was 5-4. I mean, I don't know. This scares me for later on for a conversation we're going to get into a little later for a couple different reasons. But if you really look at DeLand and their schedule, every win that they've had, they've won in a blowout, and every loss that they've had, they've gotten beaten pretty good. This was a close game. I think this is evenly matched up. And I think, again, you can throw records out the window because their logos are exactly the same. So they almost play the same, especially in this game. But, wow. I mean, we did pick the winners in this, but I didn't think it was going to be a 62-50. I don't even know if Darlington in his history has ever given up 62 points in a defense that he has coached and had around. That's crazy to me. If you would have said DeLand scored 57 points today, I'd have been like, dang, they blew him out. And then you're like, well, Flagler had 62. You're like, what? That just doesn't make sense or sound even remotely in the same conversation with the Darlington football team. But, yeah, that's crazy. Imagine if okay, guys, I'm going to little snippet. Imagine if Flagler Palm Coast can put up 62 points, what Lake Mary's about to do on Friday night. All right, AJ, your turn.
I mean, I can't say that because Flagler Palm Coast, I thought that was a solid ball club all year, rightfully so. At the same time, D-Land, that's a tough matchup. I don't care what you say. That's a tough matchup. That's a tough offense to stop. It's a lot of misdirection. You have to be prepared to play a team like D-Land. I feel like I know what's going to happen Friday, but this particular matchup, I didn't think this many points would be scored.
I don't think anybody did.
Yeah, so like
I don't think they thought that either.
Yeah, so but yeah, I mean, I like D-Land, even though they're 5-5, that's a young team.
Very young team.
No, that's a young team. Young team.
All right, Poinciana edges out Auburndale 7-3. Both of you guys were wrong on this one, Baylin.
Yeah. I'm gonna be honest, man. When you have a team that's in the independent league, they're there for a reason. No discredit to Poinciana. I think they did a really good job at 7-3. But if you look at their resume, they've beaten absolutely nobody with their 7 wins. Auburndale at least is respected because they're in obviously the FHSAA. They're in the same district as Jones. They came in this matchup 6-3. So I'm thinking, okay, they're gonna have a couple more dogs than Poinciana. But yeah, I was definitely wrong here. If you love defense, this is the game to go to. But oh my gosh, I don't even know what to say. This is embarrassing.
AJ?
Yeah, I mean, I thought that I went with Auburndale. I thought Auburndale would win it. It was a defensive slugfest. So yeah, it's crazy.
The fact that they only scored 3 points blows my mind, especially against a Poinciana team.
What was you thinking right here, bro?
Oh gosh. Yeah. Whoa.
Tough game. A tough game for East River Falcons, and they're actually playing in a bowl game right now against Poinciana right now. But give it credit to the Tigers entering into the playoffs. They take care of business 33-0, Baylin.
Man, and you know what's funny? Coach Chappell watched the show and actually texted me. Was like, "Hey, man, I appreciate the shot. I think we're ready for this game." Yeah, well, I guess Savvy Misek and company and Coach Diesel had other plans, but yeah, that's embarrassing. I guess again that this would probably be the score that I would have thought Auburndale would have had against Poinciana, being an FHSA school against an independent. This is what it should have looked like, but yeah. Just predicted the wrong game for that outcome to happen.
Yeah, hey man, it's all good. But East River, I give them a lot of credit. Obviously they're in a rebuilding phase, So I want to give them a lot of credit for they had a winning season. They went 6-4. Anytime you have a winning season in football, that's something to celebrate. But I did just think this matchup was just a little too much for them. Toho plays RCO. They play big boys. Like they play schools that I thought would prepare them better for this matchup. So yeah.
AJ, do you think that those schools prepared them what they're going to see Friday night?
No, I ain't say all that. I said this matchup.
I'm trying to get away from this matchup.
We're going to get into that, and we got a lot to talk about tonight, guys. So we got to get this thing rolling. But for the week, Baylin's 3-4, AJ is 5-2, and AJ takes home the Heath Ziegler Trophy.
Whoa. We still have playoff predictions. We're not done with this.
No. Regular season, Baylin.
It's over, bro.
No.
AJ takes home the Heath Ziegler Trophy. I talked to Heath last week. I said, I'm going to name the trophy after you. And he goes, good, because I own Baylin too. So
no, he never owns me. He better
I don't know. All right, guys, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we have got Andy Villamarza with SB Live. We're going to go right into these big championship games for the SSAA, and we're going to get right into these brackets. You're watching the Central Florida High School Scoreboard Show right here on Varsity Sports Nation. We'll be back right after this.
Varsity Sports Nation. Unleash the champion within.
All right, welcome back to the Central Florida High School Scoreboard Show. I'm Dan LaForest. That's Baylin Trujillo and AJ Brooks, and welcome Andy Villamarza from SB Live, or High School on Sports Illustrated now. I mean, geez, changing names, growing, everything's going on. But Andy is our guy around the state. Help us kick off these 2024 high school scoreboard or high school playoffs. Andy, what's up, my man?
What's going on, Dan? AJ, Baylin, thank you guys for having me on once again. And yeah, it's playoff time.
Andy, you know, we've already kicked off. We just ended the season. We already have a handful of coaching vacancies around the state. I think this is going to be right back to what we see every year, where we start seeing probably, you know, close to 20% of the football coaching vacancies come about. I mean, where do we get coaches? Coaches leave the state. We're still trying to develop coaches. We got new high schools. We're going to be right back into the drama of finding out who's going to be the new head coach right before spring football starts again.
Where do you get coaches? Well, great question. I'm sure over 500 head coaches probably have the same question for this panel because we saw a plethora of kind of advertisements out there before the season looking for assistants, looking for help, just period. And, you know, schools, I think, are finding a tougher and tougher year in and year out to try to fill these positions because, you know, being able to kind of go outside of the Florida lines and just, I think a couple weeks ago, able to go to Valdosta Lowndes up there just over the Florida-Georgia line and to kind of see the atmosphere of a South Georgia game, which those guys, obviously, the head coaches are getting paid really well. But you kind of see why with crowds of almost 15,000 folks on hand. I mean, let's just say they're all paying $10. I mean, got quite a bit of money flowing into the school. So, you know, they're able to pay the coaches and, you know, you're going to get great quality. In Florida, not that the coaches aren't quality, but there's not enough of them. So how do they fill these vacancies? It's going to be you know, I think we've seen all kinds of ways they try to bring guys back from the past that have already been head coaches. You got guys who were just junior varsity coaches taking on the head coaching jobs. You know, it's going to be in every which way we see these vacancies get filled, but it's going to be interesting to see which ones become open as we enter the off season.
Yeah, kind of interesting. We've already seen a couple head coaches come back to the previous program after taking a year off. So, you know, RJ Fuhr at Oakleaf is one to talk about, but you know, I think you're right. Do we start to see this? All right, guys, let's get right in. Baylin's popped out, but let's get right into the big games coming up this Friday night. And let's start with the Sunshine State Athletic Conference. Let's talk about the NSU University Sharks, 9-2, playing the Masters Academy Eagles at 10-1 up in the Villages, AJ.
Are they from down south?
Yeah.
Okay, Nova. Okay, I like Masters. I'm not even too familiar with this school. But I thought that Masters' toughest opponent this year was the Providence School because of the matchup, and then Christchurch last week. So I thought that last week was a tougher matchup for Masters Academy. So I like them to win this week for sure.
Andy, any comments on this game?
I think Baylin kind of mentioned it earlier about the quarterback play over at Masters Academy. I mean, Jackson definitely has played really well this season, and you got to kind of just like this matchup, maybe a tad over the other state title games that the SSAA has going on. But I think this is definitely the most intriguing one.
Yeah, Baylin, we're going over NSU Masters 11-man championship for the SSAA. This is Masters' opportunity to get back-to-back state championships in the Villages this Saturday.
Yeah, I don't think there's a question here on what's going to happen. I think Masters is going to win in a blowout fashion. I know that obviously NSU has a really good record, 9-2, but if you do your research on both these teams and the competition and the level of what they've had to do to get to this point, Masters has proven themselves and have dominated every single game that they've won. So in that way of looking at it, I don't think it's going to be close, guys. I think this is going to get ugly, and I think Masters is going to walk away, especially when you have the offensive minds of the Cruzics. I'm never betting against them when it comes to a championship game. No chance.
Yeah. All right, Legacy out of Ocoee at 4-6 is playing for the 1A state championship against Cedar Creek. AJ at 5-5.
Dan, what you want me to? Dan, what do you want me to do here, bro? Like, what are we doing, bro? I don't know. I mean,
hey, we're rooting for Legacy. I mean, they're such a
I like
team.
Legacy. I like Legacy. I like the logo, so I like Legacy. Let's go, Legacy. Bring it home, baby.
All right, Baylin, we're just going to take it right to the next game. Space Coast. Coach Owens and the Space Coast Vikings take on the Bell Bulldogs from South Florida. Listen, Space Coast 9-3 in the SSAA this year, Baylin.
Yep, there's really no conversation here. We're going to go with the Space Coast Vipers here. They're going to win. Don't really know much about these teams, just like I didn't know anything about the last two we just talked about. Legacy Charter, good job. 4-6 to play for a state championship in a ring. Quite funny to me. But yeah, Space Coast, nice.
Dude, turn off your phone. Come on.
Yeah.
All right, let's get right into the brackets. Obviously, you will see Central Florida. You'll see our logo. So we're going to do as much as we can. But let's just roll through this, okay? First round of the Class 1A Region 1. Trinity Catholic of Ocala hosts Providence and Jacksonville. We're going to see how these brackets are going to progress, and it'll make more sense next week. University Christian in Jacksonville hosts Impact Christian, Trinity Christian of Jackson. Wow. I don't know why they did that because they have that both, and this is the FHSA bracket. But this was a forfeit. PK Young, Andy, hopefully you can comment on this. Forfeit to this game because they didn't have enough players.
Yeah, Willie Jackson.
So we're moving those guys on. St. John Paul of Tallahassee. Takes on my play. Go ahead.
Oh, and I don't know if I'm sounding delayed,
ahead,
but
Andy.
yeah, Willie Jackson. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Can you hear me? Okay. I was just
Yes.
going to say Willie Jackson, the former University of Florida great. I know Noah Ram of the Gainesville Sun. He broke the news on X last evening that he going to forfeit the game due to lack of players. They lost their starting quarterback due to sounds like a personal reason, and then the coach felt like he was going to have to start a freshman. I think that combined with the lack of numbers, just led to him making the decision to forfeit the game. I would just say we're standing on unprecedented times when you kind of hear something like that. I mean, I've seen comments via social media, people saying just let the kids play. You know, I mean, it's a playoff game. Give them the opportunity. You know, I mean, the coach knows his team.
In all fairness, Andy, Florida State had to play Georgia in the Orange Bowl, so you know.
Yeah. I mean, hey, just he decided to make he made his decision, and you know, Trinity Christian going to come away with, you know, they get a win, move on to the next round. I think that honestly that hurts. You got to think for the team that didn't get to play a game.
Let's go right into Region 2. Let's go right into Region 2, and we got Holy Trinity into the.
Dan, I think
Dan's video is getting messed up.
Yeah, Dan, you got like the Matrix over there.
He's so excited to talk about Holy Trinity. The computer's
got the Matrix going on.
Yeah, you're delayed big time. You cut Andy off. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah. All right. Holy Trinity, an 8 seed, takes on Clearwater Central Catholic. Y'all hear me?
Oh.
Yeah, you just
there's just really not much to talk about. We hope Holy Trinity wins, but we are not counting on it.
No,
all right, so the winner of that game is going to play the winner of the Carrollwood and Victory Christian out of Lakeland. And then Lakeland Christian is going to Crescent City. And then we got a district rematch right here. OCP travels to play Melbourne Central Catholic. Baylin.
Yeah, I'm excited about this. This was a shootout last time they played each other. This was I believe a 52-44 or 45 football game. This was a massive offensive game, and Melbourne Central Catholic came on top. MCC won that game. I'm not counting against Brogan McNabb here. I think he has another breakout performance here, and let's just say this. Thank goodness for TFA's mess up, because I don't believe one or both of these, actually one of these teams definitely would not be in the playoff spot right now, because they both would have received losses to TFA. But Melbourne is the district champion, so they have the automatic bid. And then OCP with another win with TFA, they got into the playoffs with strength of schedule. So, yeah, but I don't think MCC is going to have any troubles winning Friday night.
AJ?
Yeah, I look at this bracket. I think TFA wouldn't have seen any resistance. Maybe Clearwater Central Catholic. Yeah. But I like MCC. I also like Lakeland Christian and Victory Christian. So it's kind of tricky. Them Lakeland schools be solid. But I like CC. I like Clearwater Christian, Clearwater Central to come out of this bracket. I like them to win this bracket.
Agreed.
Yeah, Andy, you know, we saw Lakeland Christian, we saw Victory Christian come over for media days, but, you know, is there any other input that you can give us on this bracket here?
I think nothing changes with CCC. I mean, they're similarly the team of the last couple of years that's made the state finals in Class 1 Metro. And, you know, like the guy said, I mean, the first academy absolutely would have gave them a run. That would have been an epic battle. But, I mean, now you kind of take a look at it. I mean, it seems like a much clearer path for the Marauders to make it a 3 times and trying to meet Chaminade Madonna for it all.
Yeah,
now,
we're going to see that.
Can we all agree that MCC has a chance to make the Final Four?
No, I think that's the final matchup. I think it's MCC.
That would be the region final.
Yeah, this is the regional final. So
yeah,
we'll have these filled in for next week, and then finally week 3 we'll have the regional matchups.
I think MCC can make some noise and find themselves in a Final Four.
Very well could be. Very well could be. And the surprising thing here is you got a 2 seed that has to travel to a 7 seed who ended up being the district championship, with Lakeland Christian going to Crescent City too. And we're going to see a number of those. You know, we have Seminole having to go on the road. So, all right, another bracket, Andy. We do not have any Central Florida teams in. We're going to blow through. Cardinal Newman out of West Palm Beach is the 1 seed in this region, hosting Evangelical Christian. Community School of Naples hosting St. John Newman. First Baptist out of Naples. Again, everything's down in that southwest quadrant. First Baptist hosting Southwest Florida Christian. Benjamin out of Palm Beach Gardens heading over to actually traveling across the state, Northside Christian. And Coach Bailey Grenier over at Northside Christian there in St. Pete, Baylin.
Yeah, I'm excited for him. I hope that they do well. And, you know, I got to coach with him at Masters for about a year. Well, not really coach. I just helped out when I could.
Nah, you coached. You coach.
No. Twice a week if you consider that coaching. But yeah, they paid me. But yeah, so Northside Christian, awesome work there. But yeah, I think it's a clear-cut path for Cardinal Newman to take this region and find themselves competing for a state title this year.
Andy, any input?
I think three teams stand out to me that could be, come out of this. Cardinal Newman, Benjamin, and First Baptist Academy. You got to look at those three teams as kind of the potential favorites. I mean, you would think Cardinal Newman, when people look at these FHSAA ratings, they probably say that's the team, right? Just because of, I think they were like in the top 10 or top 5. I got to see him against Buchholz. Based on what I saw, I don't see why First Baptist or Benjamin couldn't, compete with them in this region and come out of it. So, kind of keep an eye on those three teams.
All right, finally, Region 4, heading up with Chaminade Madonna, hosting St. John Paul out of Boca, St. Andrews out of Boca, hosting Archbishop Carroll out of Miami. True North, a 2 seed, has to travel to Palmer Trinity out of Miami. And then Uncle Luke in the Miami Essen is hosting Somerset Academy Key, Andy.
Yeah, this is, I don't even think this requires too much thought. Chaminade is just playing their best football, winners of their last 8, start off with a couple losses. And all they've done is kind of Damian Jones has figured everything out. Got Beckham Kritza coming over from Miami Central, and he's kind of stepped in there for Preston Wright, who's doing an incredible job until he got hurt. And they've played musical chairs at that quarterback position, but now they got their guy, and they're set to make a run at another championship.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how they actually do, and they have. They've battled the adversity and fighting themselves right back where they've been for year after year. All right, guys, let's get right into Class 2A, Region 1. Gaston County hosts as the number 1 seed hosts Baldwin. Florida High travels to Mariana. Pensacola Catholic's into that 2 seed. They've had a really good season too, Andy, hosting Walton. And then Bowles is going to host Taylor County, Andy.
Yeah, this one, I'd look at Gadsden County and Pensacola Catholic. Pensacola Catholic was a state semifinalist last year in Class 2S, ended up losing to Bradford, who ended up losing to Cocoa. And then Gadsden County, I'd say they've been one of the kind of, if you've been watching this classification, if you want to call them a surprise, Russell Ellington has done a really good job with the Jaguars. And the game that I kind of point to and say to people, that's where I kind of was wondering about each of the teams, was actually a game that didn't count in the preseason when they played Venice on the road. Gadsden County went over there, lost 34-19. I was trying to figure out, is Venice kind of down, or is Gadsden County actually just really dang good? And, well, I think we found out Gadsden County is pretty good, and Venice is, Venice. So I think Pensacola Catholic and Gadsden County are on a collision course in this bracket.
All right, so let's get to that Region 2, and they're the Cocoa Tigers hosting Lake Placid this weekend, Baylin.
You muted, boy. You muted,
Baylin.
Oh, well, I said something crazy like another blowout. So Mollywop Central, I don't think it's close. I think we have just as much power to say Cocoa is going to make it an easy case, just like we can say Chaminade can. So I think
I don't know about that, dog.
I can stand on record and say that I think Cocoa is going to breeze their way through to another state title, and they're going to definitely win this region.
All right, so I like Cocoa. But that team in Bradford, Bradford, that's a good ball club. So
that was the state championship game last year, if I remember correctly, guys.
Yeah, so I'm not just going to say Cocoa will easily win this. I think that is the matchup. I think those two teams on the collision course, and the winner
that could be the Region 2 championship.
And the winner of that game is who I think will win the state championship.
Cocoa.
Andy?
This is a crazy bracket when you really look at it. Each matchup includes a team that you could, and I get it. Cocoa, yeah, they should be the team talked about to win this whole thing because they've only done it the last couple of years, so there's no reason to think otherwise, right? but you got Berkeley Prep. Obviously, they're not the same team from last year.
As the state champions, correct.
But I was on a show with Pinellas County guys because obviously they're playing Calvary Christian. They're like, Calvary should beat them. I'm hitting them with the Lee Corso. Not so fast. Hold on. These guys are starting to play some of their best football. They really are. I think the biggest problem was this offensive line. They were retooling it, trying to figure out what works. Dallas Golden last week had 166 yards, 3 touchdowns against Tampa Catholic in a 56-28 win. I mean, who's to say this team isn't just figuring it out? I mean, didn't they do that last year and then go ahead and win it all? I mean, let's not totally write
convincingly, by the way.
Yeah,
convincingly, Andy.
Yeah,
I agree. I think this bracket is scary across the board. I think, and even if we do, again, if we're looking at a Bradford Cocoa in week 3, that's pretty impressive. But, I even say look out for Calvary Christian.
I say look out for Newberry. Newberry's a heck of a ball club.
Guys, you guys are just trying to have things to talk about. We know Cocoa is the top dog, and then Bradford.
All right.
Bro, you'll see, bro.
Put me on record.
I'm not predicting an upset. I'm just saying things could be a little bit more I don't think they're going to blow out everyone 49-0. I mean, to me, that they're not playing Lake Placid all 4 rounds.
I know Calvary Christian has 0 chance to beat Cocoa if they get through Berkeley Prep, and I know Berkeley Prep's offensive line is not matching up with Cocoa's D line. So that it doesn't even matter what we talk about those 2 teams. That might be a toss-up, but we know after Calvary got completely blasted by TFA last week, and then we got Berkeley Prep, again, on the highs of last year's Norland win, which was crazy, but that's not the same football team we're looking at here. Cocoa's going to breeze their way to a Final Four, and then we'll see what happens with my prediction with AJ and Bradford.
All right, let's move on. Hey, let's talk about that Region 3. Cardinal Mooney out of Sarasota is the 1 seed, taking on Somerset Canyons. Calvary Christian Academy heads over to Kings Academy. Bishop Verot hosts Tarpon Springs. Glade Central is going to host Lakewood St. Pete, Andy.
I feel like I'm going to try to predict what Baylin's going to say, and I think he really likes Bishop Verot. I saw his head start to nod because he likes Carter Smith a lot, but not so fast.
I like his backup more, Austin Christian. I'll say that.
Oh, well, I think Cardinal Mooney, honestly, is the team to beat in this bracket, not just because they're the number 1 seed. I think they're the most well-rounded team in this. I think Bishop Verot has shown at times that their defense is a little suspect. You can say that, they've played some really good teams. Well, so has Cardinal Mooney. And they've also kind of just run the table. And something I've said is I wish they would have played Venice. That would have been a heck of a game of Sarasota County teams. Would have liked to seen them 2 square off because Mooney's line is pretty big. I mean, they got they got the top offensive lineman out of West Virginia and Daron Parks. So I actually, would think that Cardinal Mooney should come away out of this bracket. And, Glade Central, that to me, that's the story of the out of all these teams is really what they've done. Cause last year they were 2-7, 9-1 under, alum Omar Hugabuck. And, but I think, Mooney should be the team to beat.
All right, guys, let's get right into that Region 4. This is all pretty much South Florida. Miami, Washington is going to be the number 1 seed hosting North Miami Beach. Cardinal Gibbons hosts Miami Carroll City. Immaculata LaSalle out of Miami is going to Gulliver Prep. And Gulliver Prep is now at a 7 seed this year. And they've had a great program over the last several years. And then Monsignor Pace is going to host a Ransom Everglades, Andy.
Yeah, I just think of Ice Harris and the Tornadoes in this one. They got a ton of talent over there. Cardinal Gibbons, I mean, I think when we mention that team, we think of those, state championships they have won. But this is definitely a team that you could say this is not the team of.
It's a much younger team that Coach DeBuck has had in the past. Probably less talented, probably used just due to youth and development. But yeah, I mean, we saw them play Lake Mary early in the year, really could not stop the run at all. I mean, but, again, this is the end of the season. That's where everything progresses. But I agree. It's probably not the most talented team Coach DeBuck's had. All right, let's get right into 3A. This is going to be that Northeastern pretty much. Reigns out of Jacksonville's the number 1 seed, hosting Bay out of Panama City. Wakula hosts Menendez. Godby is going to host Swanee. And then Bishop Kenny is going to host Baker County. Andy.
Now, this is more of a bracket I would sit there and say if Reigns doesn't run through all these teams, then I would have some. I would be, compared to that other bracket we were talking about. I don't see any opposition for the Vikings here. They're undefeated. The way they've been playing this season, really just running away with games, and no one in this bracket is going to be able to really challenge them. You got some good stories, Wakulla, Bishop Kenny, but they're just not going to be able to match up once it gets to a region final. So anything else, Vikings can probably get ready to book their tickets to the state semis.
All right, let's get right into Region 2. O'Galley, the number 1 seed. We've talked about O'Galley all year long. Host Crystal River. Titusville hosts Merritt Island. That's going to be exciting. Bishop Moore is the 2 seed here out of Orlando, host Eastside out of Gainesville, and Dunellen is going to host the Hurricanes from Mount Dora, Baylin.
Yeah, I like this. I can almost guarantee you a Central Florida team is going to come out of this bracket with as many as playing in this. I think this is the most competitive region or bracket out of probably all of them as far as like evenly matched up. If you look at them, there's really not a clear-cut game other than maybe O'Galley and Bishop Moore. Like, I think all these other games can be really good football games, and the outcomes could be different than what maybe we predict. I'd like Titusville to go through, but I think Merritt Island has enough to beat them. I think, Donnell has a cool story, but Mount Dora, you don't know what to expect with them. They'll look good one week and the next, like, what happened? But I just love this. I think looking at this bracket, I think this excites me the most as far as a playoff type of build for this region and how it can all come down to who makes it to the Final Four. But to be honest with you, I would love nothing more to see than O'Galley versus Bishop Moore matchup to go to a state championship. And that will give me goosebumps because I want to see Bjorn Jurgensen against Joseph Allen in a slugfest. And I think O'Galley can walk away here winning the region because of the talent. But Bishop Moore and their coaching staff and how they've won in big games and how they were so close last year losing to a Bulls team, I think Bishop Moore, this might be the year that we see them in a state title game again. That would be crazy.
AJ?
Yeah. We don't want he like Charles Barkley. Like, you ever watch TNT? Charles Barkley, you like, oh shit, Charles Barkley picked my team. Like, listen, bro, slow down on Bishop Moore, bro. Okay, don't.
You want it to be true though. You want it to be true.
I want it to be true, but slow down. I love the matchup, so I like EG first matchup. You make a terrific point with that Titusville, Merritt Island. You can kind of juggle that. I like Bishop Moore to beat Eastside. I watched Eastside last week versus South Sumter, and I just wasn't impressed. I think Bishop Moore will spread them out offensively. I think Bishop Moore is too much for them. Dunellen and Mount Dora, that's another one. If Dunellen stops Tamir Gaines, they win the game. If they don't, they lose. So it's like, then I like Bishop Moore to beat either Dunellen or Mount Dora. So I like Bishop Moore, EG to come at the end. And that'll be that'll be a good game, boy. That'll be a good one.
Andy, I don't know if there's anything you can really add to that.
Nah, you got all the Central Florida, you got the guys right here that know it. I haven't gotten to see any of these teams in person this season, but just looking at every team that's bold, to me, they're moving on to the second round, and then you're going to have some good matchups there. But yeah, that region final that AJ just alluded to, that should be a good one.
Yeah, I agree. I think Titusville Merritt Island is going to be the jewel of this particular first round. But I do like Mount Dora's chances on the road at Dunellen too. I think this is what Coach Hutch has been building those Hurricanes to. If I remember correctly, this is Mount Dora's first playoff appearance in a long time. So look out for those Hurricanes. All right, here you go, Andy. Tampa Jefferson's in a 1 seed in Region 3. And they're going to host Hudson. Chamberlain is going to host Boca Ciega. Booker hosts Hardy, and Mulberry hosts Nature Coast.
This is a tough region in terms of not a whole ton of not a lot of wins, but you got teams that are in. I would expect Booker and Jefferson to meet in a region final, and Jefferson, I'd say the last time really they were this relevant was when they won a state title with Quentin Williams a long time ago. And then you got Sarasota Booker, which went through a ton of adversity before the season ever started. Their coach getting suspended due to recruiting, and then had to sit out a few games. He returned, and Tornadoes to me would be the favorite in this bracket with the talent they got, quarterback play, just all around. I think they could be in the state semifinals for the second straight year. But Jefferson, you're going to try to have something to say in this, because we all know an undefeated team, no matter the competition they've been facing, I mean, you feel like you're pretty good for, running the table at where you're at. So I think they'll give Booker a run.
All right, then finally, Region 4, you've got Miami Northwestern.
Yep.
With that number 1 seed, with Teddy Bridgewater, new head coach, first-year head coach there, has got him in the number 1 seed, hosting Barron Collier. Leli is hoping Miami-Jackson. Key West is in that 2 seed, hosting Estero. Somerset Academy out of Pembroke Pines is hosting Cypress Lake, Andy.
I mean, Teddy Bridgewater and his Bulls, they should be waltzing into the state semifinals. I mean, with Miami Central getting the forfeits slapped on them and they're out of the postseason, I mean, that set them up for success in this region. I mean, Key West has been a good story with. I mean, I think they literally just run the ball every single play. They probably pass for like 10 yards a game. I mean, I just don't see anybody challenging the Bulls in this region.
All right, let's go on to 4A. St. Augustine, who had an amazing season last year, is the number 1 seed in this region, hosted Columbia out of Lake City. Ed White is going to host Pine Forest out of Pensacola. There's a trek down I-10. Choctaw-Hatchie is gonna host Arnold, and Escambia hosts Riverside. I guess they're gonna be passing each other on the road, Andy.
Yeah, and looking at this, I mean, this is just a hodgepodge of teams that it's hard to just say St. Augustine's going to walk away with this, because they have that loss to Nice on the season. They played some tight ones against like Bartram Trail and other teams. So Escambia, you can make an argument for. I mean, you got LaDarian Clardy on that team, and several others. Choctaw, they got a new running back, and Vaughn Keller, who took over for Cole Tabb, now at Stanford. This is just a region where I would love to say it's just clear cut, but I mean, you can make the argument for St. Augustine, you can make it for Choctaw, you can make it for Escambia. Heck, you could maybe even make it for Riverside if they, really get hot. So, I mean, a lot of teams I'd say you could like in this region.
Yeah, and I really like that matchup with Pine Forest and Ed White too. I think that's going to be interesting as well. All right, let's get right into 4A Region 2. Orlando Jones Tigers hits that number 1 seed. They will host Lecanto. Zephyr Hills hosts Rockledge. Rockledge is in there, but no, they're going to have an intern head coach. Vanguard hosts Leesburg, and Lake Wales is going to host New Smyrna Beach. The Cougars are in, Baylin.
Yeah, this is awesome, man. I was at Jones practice today. Those guys are on a whole different caliber as far as like the mentality and just the standard. And I mean, they're literally perfectionists right now. I'm watching them and orchestrate offensively, especially, and the no slacking and the no lack of effort there. I'm just blown away with where Jones is sitting at right now. I think this is, this could be interesting. I do believe Zephyr Hills does beat Rockledge, especially without no head coach. I do know there's some turmoil going in with the Rockledge program. It's a very sad situation right now, unfortunately, because they did have a good shot, but I don't think they have a shot now. So we'll see Jones versus Zephyr Hills. That might be interesting in the first quarter, and then that might be a blowout. I think that what we're going to probably see is either a Jones versus Vanguard in the final here, or don't be surprised if Lake Wales finds themselves get hot too, because Lake Wales is a very good football team here. I would have said Leesburg had a shot based on how they were performing throughout the year, but the egg that they laid at the end against South Lake, I don't know. I didn't see it coming, and Vanguard's a really good team, and they already beat Leesburg earlier in the year. So I think Vanguard does come away there. And Lake Wales Vanguard, though, I think that's going to be the biggest matchup overall. when that happens, unless some craziness happens with a New Smyrna upset or something, but which I don't see happening. That's going to be cool to see who's going to end up playing Jones. But I think at the end of the day, we all know Jones is probably going to walk away into the Final Four through this region.
Yeah. I think we all expect Jones to be there. But, let's give credit here. We saw Vanguard edge Leesburg early in the year. It's always hard, and we're going to talk this a couple times tonight. It's hard to beat a team twice.
Do any of us
also
think that Leesburg has a
Lake
chance?
Wales? I think they do against Vanguard. Again, listen. I think they do. I really do. I think they do. I think this is a really good matchup. I think it's a really good matchup. And then Lake Wales, New Smyrna Beach. I mean, Lake Wales has played a really great year, but they have struggled with Central Florida teams this year. So,
powerhouse Central Florida teams. Let's not forget that.
No doubt about it. But we can sit here and say we can look at a collision course of Lake Wales versus Jones again.
Yeah, I think that's where we get to. I think we have a rematch of Lake Wales and Jones. I do agree with you, Dan, that I just don't think Vanguard just beats Leesburg. I think Leesburg has a good chance of winning that game because I believe Leesburg actually has the better offense. So if Leesburg offense gets to clicking, I think Leesburg could beat Vanguard. But at the end of the day, I see Jones, Lake Wales rematch to see who moves on.
Andy?
I would have liked Leesburg a little more if they would have played the way they started the season and finished it that way. I think the way their second half of the season went leaves me to think that the team that got better since the first meeting was Vanguard, not Leesburg. Leesburg has kind of trended downwards as Vanguard has either stayed put or they've gotten better. And to me, like Edwin Farmer, heck of a coach. Obviously, he's going to learn from that first matchup with Leesburg, and I got to see them back in the spring. Ton of athletes. They're going to try to run the ball and play good defense. So, but AJ and Baylin, I think we're right on with. I would anticipate Lake Wales, in a matchup with Vanguard to beat them this time around. Which, if any, people remember, this was a region final matchup last year, which Vanguard just blasted them. I mean, they and went on to play Mainland. But I mean, this is not the same Vanguard team from last year, and you don't have Fred Gaskin. So Lake Wales, and to me, you just point to that meeting with Jones and just how they hung in there, and that I think that tells you everything of how good this Lake Wales team is, because I wouldn't call that a fluke. I would say if you're able to hang with the Fighting Tigers like that, you got a pretty good bunch. So I think Lake Wales and Jones is the game we need to kind of keep our eye on here when it comes region final time.
I don't disagree. All right, let's get into the Region 3. Port Charlotte hosts South Fort Myers. Clearwater hosts Jesuit. Naples hosts River Ridge, and then Dunbar heads down to St. Pete, Andy. This is your neck of the woods.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, these teams like Port Charlotte, I just got to see, like their quarterback, Logan Flaherty, scored 4 rushing touchdowns against Charlotte in the Peace River rivalry. I would anticipate they move on. That Clearwater Jesuit game, that is, I mean, that I think, honestly, that's like, and I'll just say, too bad. I don't think media can really attend that game because when I went to Clearwater, there's no way I could even get on the field. I had to sit in the stands. So, but
that's right. They've kind of banned everybody from the sidelines in Pinellas, haven't they?
Yeah. Yep. Even if you got a media pass, you got to sit in the stands. So too bad. You'd probably have to watch this one on a HS network. But I mean, Will Griffin.
Camera works.
Yeah. You get Will Griffin against Jalen White of Clearwater. I really like that matchup. I feel like that's a coin toss. Naples should blow by River Ridge, and then you got St. Pete, Dunbar. I mean, this isn't the same Dunbar team that's made the state semifinals. This team got 3 or 4 losses this year. St. Pete's playing with a lot of confidence. They they could very well just move on and end up facing Naples. But I would say the game at the end in this region, I would like to, honestly, Naples, Port Charlotte, the game that ended in a kick 6 last year, actually the game that Sean Simeon went off for almost like 400 yards. That was actually the Dunbar Naples game that ended in a kick 6. But Port Charlotte, Naples, to me, would be a heck of a region final.
Yeah. All right, finally, that Region 4, American Heritage, obviously the favorite in that number 1 seed, hosting Jensen Beach. John Carroll out of Fort Pierce hosts Dillard. Miami Norland's got to go down and play Hialeah, and then Plantation hosts Archbishop McCarthy, Andy.
Man, Miami Norland people, if they heard that, they would say, "Whoa, whoa, whoa! We actually beat those guys." But then they had to give them a forfeit because they had an ineligible player. So I mean, when you look at those two, because these are really the two teams just to look at, Norland, American Heritage, and you got really like the defensive line of Norland getting after Diabella. I think that is really the key because just to kind of parlay it into, Central Florida football. I mean, when Norland played Cocoa, I think the difference was just that defensive line getting after Brady Hart in that game. And that, any quarterback can tell you, if you're up against a really good offensive line that's overpowering your offensive line, I mean, what the heck are you going to be able to do anyways? So Norland, to me, I don't know. These guys seem like on a mission because obviously last year they feel like they got embarrassed, losing to Berkeley Prep. So I think these dudes are on a mission, and I would actually think the Vikings, are the team to beat, just narrowly over the Patriots. But obviously, Diabell, Byron Lewis, and those guys are gonna have a say.
All right, guys, let's get right into 5A. Niceville's the number 1 seed, hosts Middleburg. Ponte Vedra is going to host Beachside. Lincoln out of Tallahassee hosts the Bucks out of Mainland. And then Mosley hosts Fleming Island. Obviously, I want to comment on this. Daytona Beach Mainland in a 7 seed, 5-5, win the district, started out 0-3, guys. I think Squatty Bell's done one of the best coaching jobs I've seen in a long time. AJ.
I think 0-5.
They started off 0-5, bro. They lost the first 5 and they won the last 5. So yeah, he did a great job. I just think it's just a bad matchup for him. I hate to see him play Lincoln the first round. But they did a great job. So hopefully they could win this matchup. But Niceville and Lincoln is the matchup that I think will determine this bracket.
Baylin?
I'm going to go on a whim here. I think Mosley Dolphins out of Panama City might make some noise. They can compete with Lincoln. I think that they actually squeeze out and make it to the region final. I'm a little biased there because that's where my mom graduated. So don't act like I've been doing my research because I haven't. So
I was about to say, what the hell you know about that, boy?
I'm surprised he knew it was the Dolphins, but Andy, comment.
My mom graduated there. I should know a little bit about my family history in Panama City, but yeah, I think that Niceville walks away with this region. I think that they find themselves in the championship game in this region, and then obviously in the Final Four. So I think Niceville's the team. I think Lincoln can make a splash, but I'm going to predict an upset with Mosley just because my mom went there.
Okay. All right. I can live with that. Andy.
I do expect that.
Not so fast. Hold on. Lincoln first. And I don't know. Maybe everyone knows something about Lincoln that I don't, because every week that I do the top 25, I've never thought about putting them in. And just based on kind of what I've seen out of the schedule, I just never was intrigued by this team. I actually think Mosley would be the team that should beat them. I think they should beat Lincoln, and they'll end up playing Niceville. And the first time that they played Niceville, Mosley won. And if not for some penalties and miscues, I think you could have argued Mosley could have won by more. I think this is a region where if you follow the names, and I don't think Mainland's out of this Lincoln game, to be quite honest. I think the way they've been playing, 5 wins in a row, Coach Squatty has done a heck of a job. If he has those guys with the minds right, they can walk into Tallahassee and win. I really do. I think they could win that game.
That's what
It's just a long drive. It's just so far when you got to go drive all the way to
O'Galley thought, and they got spanked. So yeah, no chance.
Yeah,
I don't know. Bartram Trail went to Niceville and Navarre back-to-back weeks and won.
Guys, we're talking about Tallahassee Lincoln, who absolutely embarrassed O'Galley in the same area Mainland's in. Great story for Mainland. Your season ends Friday.
Man, you tripping, bro.
now, I'm looking at the schedule right now. Niceville actually beat them 38-35.
Yep.
Back actually 4 weeks ago. But yeah, O'Galley lost 38-17 to Lincoln. I was thinking we had a team that played them. All right, let's get into Region 2. Lakeland, the number 1 seed, no question, hosts Spoto out of Riverview. Gaither is going to host Springstead, the number 4 seed. And then there is the Orlando Edgewater Eagles is going to host East Bay. And then Tampa Bay Tech hosts Sebring. This is an interesting bracket, guys. Baylin?
The most competitive bracket in all classifications, and it's not even close. And I'm only saying this because Edgewater has to go through a juggernaut just to represent the region.
Just to get out of the region.
I mean, okay, first of all, they're going to play Tampa Bay Tech second round. Let's say they get through Tampa Bay Tech, which is not easy. They're going to have to see Lakeland to, in the final. I just – and then Gaither can see Lakeland in the second round. That might be interesting. So, like, dude, I don't know, man. I don't know if this really region excites you guys like it excites me, but I think overall, when you look at all the brackets and classifications, this is the number 1 region as far as competitive, as far as the juices, the stakes, the powerhouses and the big names, big talent. I think this is crazy. I think Tampa Bay Tech against Edgewater is going to be electric. I think Lakeland versus Gaither might be interesting. I still think Lakeland wins that game pretty fairly. But then Lakeland versus either Edgewater or Tampa Bay Tech, yeah, get your popcorn ready, because what I saw against, what they did against Lake Mary and how Lake Mary was able to establish the passing game, I think Edgewater does a really good job at what Lake Mary does a good job at too, stopping the run. So talk about a physicality game. And then Tampa Bay Tech can put up 60 on you if you let them. So, man, this is exciting, guys. I don't know what you guys think, but I still think Lakeland does come out of this, but I would love to see Edgewater.
Yeah, and again, I think there's some incredible matchups here, AJ.
Yeah, I think there are. I'm going to be real. I mean, I think Lakeland comes out on the top half. Edgewater, Tampa Bay Tech, I think they played last year in the second round, the last 2 years.
Jones beat them last year.
Yeah. So, I like Lakeland. I like Edgewater. And, I mean, I'm going to be honest. I like Edgewater to beat Lakeland, bro. I'm not even going to sugarcoat it. Lakeland is a good ball club, but they're one-dimensional. Edgewater is a complete ball club, and I don't know if Lakeland is going to be ready for Edgewater, to be honest with you. So I like Edgewater.
Yeah, I think this is going to be an interesting conversation here in a couple of weeks, to be sure. Andy?
Man, they might end up just clipping this and waiting for that region final. But, I mean, and that's if, they get there. But, I mean, I'd say Lakeland is a team that kind of plays up and down to their competition. And if you needed any kind of evidence to that, take a look at that Sebring game, because I saw Sebring and, I would have never thought that they'd play, as close as they did. I mean, kind of on upset alert of Lakeland, and Lakeland just seems to kind of play up to whoever they're playing, and then they play down to also whoever they're playing. I think you go back to when they won at Trask Powell to start the season. I mean, I don't think the buzz was around how Lakeland was going to go in there and do it. I think the buzz was around how Miami Central was going to kind of knock their heads off. And then I think they rely on defense. To me, that's kind of their calling card. They are obviously a run-first team. And I think when they need to bring in their heavy, hitters, they're going to do so. I think you would have to start seeing Malik Morris play a major role at running back. That was something they did in the state championship game last year, which they didn't really feature him throughout the year as a running back. I think when push comes to shove, they throw guys in the positions that they need them to play. And you didn't see that. You're not going to have any film on it. You're just going to have to know that it's coming and be able to be ready for it.
Andy, I was going to bring up too. I don't think this is a guarantee where Tampa Bay Tech gets by Sebring either.
Well, I mean, it would take I think a letdown, a real big letdown by the Titans. Yeah, I mean, nothing on LeVar Scott. I mean, heck of a coach. He's got a young team, and it's very ground oriented. Kavion Mason, he's a Delaware commit. He's their guy, but I mean, I think it kind of just stops with him. Like starts and stops with him. At Tampa Bay Tech, just a lot of weapons. I mean, they're going to meet Edgewater in that second round. And that to me is going to be a really entertaining matchup. Absolutely. I think Baylin just said it, get your popcorn. I just think when you go up against Lakeland, and it's almost like, I would just say it's like you're meeting somebody who's just, they've been lulling you to sleep, and then when you end up playing against them, it's like they bring everything to the table, and you better be ready for every bit of it. And I wouldn't worry about the quarterback play because everything is quarterback eccentric, except Lakeland. Don't worry about their quarterback play because that's not what they're going to lean on. They're going to lean on.
I would agree with the Lake Mary game because they needed that quarterback to throw some crazy passes to beat Lake Mary because Lake Mary should have won that football game. So,
all right, guys, let's get right into Region 3. Manatee hosts has the number 1 seed, hosting Pinellas Park. Immokalee, Coach Delgado hosts Cape Coral. Fort Myers hosts Charlotte, and then Riverdale hosts North Myers. Andy,
I would say Jaquez Green has absolutely his best chance to make a state semifinal with his Hurricanes in this region. You got some good stories. Riverdale's had a nice season with Coach Kendall Gibson. Fort Myers has some talent. Immokalee's been a nice story, but I think this is all about Manatee winning this region. I don't think they're a team I would sit here and tell everybody like I think they're going to compete for a state title. I mean, and that's kind of stinks because, when you get to state semis, you think you'd be able to say, hey, they should be able to get to, have a chance. But, if they face Lakeland or Edgewater or Aquinas, I think they'll be outmatched. But, I mean, when you look at the teams in this region, I mean, Manatee absolutely can kind of relive a little nostalgia of the Joe Canan days and, be back in a Final Four. And then, at least think about the possibility of playing in a state championship game. I mean, hey, if you get into a Final Four, never know. I mean, they got a good quarterback in Andrew Heidel, which I think Army's getting an absolute steal in that kid. Absolute steal.
Trained him all off season, and
he's a heck of a quarterback. I just the 2 or 3 times I got to see him. I mean, really puts the ball on the money. Just a well-rounded. I mean, you gotta love his size too. I mean, great size quarterback. I'm just surprised more people aren't after that kid.
Yeah.
All right, let's get right on to Region 4. Atlantic out of Delray Beach hosts Mater Academy. Miramar hosts Heritage out of Palm Bay, guys. I don't have a marker on there. St. Thomas Aquinas is the number 2 seed. Something we don't see a whole lot. Hosts North Miami, and then Blanche Eli hosts Coconut Creek. Baylin, I want to start with you on Palm or Heritage. We've loved watching the Heritage Panthers. They got to go on the road to Miramar.
Yeah, great story. Great time talking about them, but I don't think we'll talk about them past Friday night. But yeah, I like what they did. They definitely reminded us that we forgot them on our graphic. I think the head coach, he takes pride in Heritage, and he should. I mean, that is a really good football team and a good program that he has. A lot of talent goes through Heritage. They made a really good run with a really good quarterback last year. I know they had a transfer quarterback into this year, so I believe he's doing pretty well. But I just think Miramar might be a little bit too much. They've seen a lot more, challenge throughout the year to be ready for a type of matchup like this. But, again, great job, Heritage. Great season. I just don't think they match up really well against Miramar. And looking overall, I think St. Thomas Aquinas, if we can all agree, they're probably going to walk their way to a state championship.
AJ?
Yeah, I agree with a lot what Baylin said. Heritage had a great season, Coach Benson. And the crew, they did a terrific job, but I think Miramar is just seeing a different breed of talent on a weekly basis that will prepare them. But then I think St. Thomas Aquinas will come out of this region I saw them play against Bishop Moore. Very explosive team, very put together. So yeah, I like St. Thomas Aquinas to come out of this bracket for sure.
Didn't Blanche Eli put a thumping on Chaminade? Was that it?
Oh, it was a overtime one.
But they won. They beat Chaminade, right? And
Yeah, they did beat.
Probably at Chaminade's best when everybody was healthy at every position that was starting. Now, again, I think Preston Wright should have been the starting quarterback from day one. That's a whole different conversation. But that's a football team that could be on upset alert. I don't think they have enough to beat St. Thomas, but I thought the same thing with Chaminade. So that might be an interesting storyline in this region if that somehow plays out. But I just think St. Thomas, as we look at this whole bracket, they should roll.
All right, Andy, what are we missing?
I think Baylin touched on it a little bit there with Blanche. Like I wouldn't absolutely sleep on them just because when you got to win against a team like that, and I mean it was right after that St. John Bosco loss, and I think that was kind of if you had to think of like top 5 upsets of the season, I mean if it's not number 1, it's in that top 5. So a team with that kind of talent, I mean, they're going to give Aquinas some kind of run. I mean, it's just how long can they stay in the game? How long can they keep it interesting? And when you think of the Raiders, and I think people are looking at it like, well, these guys have like 3 losses on the record. This is not, times are not the same as St. Thomas. I think the difference is a lot of the top level, the top tier teams, they put together really tough schedules and, somebody's bound to lose. I mean, Heritage has 3 losses, obviously St. Thomas with 3 losses. You could go down the line. I mean, I know Coco's got multiple losses. So it's just all these teams, they went out and put together these, really just arduous schedules. And Aquinas, I think, is going to end up benefiting from that and being able to get out of this region. But Eli, I think they'll make it interesting.
All right, let's get right into 6A. Nice with a number 1 seed. Host Tate. Mandarin hosts Oakleaf. Buchholz hosts Evans. And then the Oviedo Lions have to go all the way to the Panhandle to play Pace. Baylin.
Yeah, Nice is the storyline here. Pace, I believe, can make a run here as well. I think they're going to beat Oviedo. But I think Nice is interesting because a lot of people have Nice at the top of some FHSA rankings. I believe they think they're even number 1 in the state. I love the hype. I love Colin Drafts. I love what he did with the program. He's continually got better every single year, which has been very impressive at Nice, especially with the legacy of Tim Tebow. And they got a lot of things that can draw kids to that program. And Colin Drafts is a mastermind when it comes to offense and how he coaches, because I've been around that guy and he is the real deal. But it would be. I mean, this could be crazy if Nice finds himself in this Final Four. They have the resume to do it. I don't think Buchholz might make a run. I don't even think they get past Pace. To be honest with you, they could. But regardless, we're going to see a Pace Buchholz versus a Nice in the final here, in my opinion.
KJ.
Yeah, I would love to see Evans. I'm not sure which Buchholz team I'm gonna get either. So I would love to see Evans.
I just said Buchholz, but AJ and Dan and Andy, I think we can all agree we're all rooting for Evans Friday night.
Yeah, we definitely rooting for him.
I'm all for it. I hope they go far. I mean, honestly, I do. I think they have the speed, the talent, and the defense and physicality to actually make a push to go to the final of this. I just think Pace is a little bit different. But, man, I think we're all rooting for Evans Friday night. I'm excited.
Yeah, we definitely rooting for Evans. But Nice has been the team all year in this region, so to speak. So I think a Nice-Pace matchup, maybe Buchholz. I'm not sure. But, best of luck to the Trojans, though. We'll be pulling for you guys. I know this is uncharted territory, so to speak, and they have to travel. They have to go to Gainesville. So it's just something different for the program. So, but it should be a good experience for all of them. Congratulations to them. So hopefully they pull it out, though.
Andy, with all the talent at Mandarin, where does Mandarin sit right now in this bracket?
What's up with Tramel? Yeah.
Well, I mean, no Tramel Jones equals no state semifinal return, just because You got Knox Ennis playing quarterback, a young pup. Got to see him against Bradford, which, I mean, even with no Trammell and then no Jamie French for a half, they were toe-to-toe with Bradford, which should tell you a lot about how good Mandarin is even without their guys. But, I mean, I just saw Buchholz. They beat Cardinal Newman 14-7. You look at their 3 losses on the season: Manatee, Richmond Hill out of Georgia, and then Nice, which was 20-17. I mean, these losses are. I mean, I think the losses are by a combined 14 points total, like with these 3 teams. So we could easily be talking about a Bobcats team that's undefeated. And Nice has been a great story. I can agree with that. Nate Harry now, playing quarterback, and you got KJ Perry at running back. But I think Buchholz really has played a tough schedule all throughout the season. That from start to finish, they beat Vanguard at the very beginning, Cardinal Newman at the end on Halloween, and I mean, you can make the argument Evans, could come away with the win in that Buchholz game. I feel like if they beat Buchholz, you could be talking about them winning this region, honestly. I mean, that the 2-headed monster with Cameron Oliver and Ladarius Pryor. I mean, I think you try to ride home that run game, but they're gonna need McMillan at quarterback to really kind of to bring them home, because Newman tried to come at Buchholz with a kind of a run-heavy attack. And, I think if they were more balanced, I think Newman could have won that game in Citizens Field. I think if Evans comes in with a balanced attack, like it, based on their numbers, they look like they're more of a kind of a more balanced team. I think they could win. Honestly, I'm not sugarcoating that at all.
All right, let's get right into Region 2. Armwood hosts Melbourne. Plant hosts Bartow. The Cowboys out of Osceola are going to host Vieira out of Melbourne, and Durant hosts South Lake. Baylin. Mute, Baylin.
You muted.
I don't know how that happened, but no, call me crazy, but I think Osceola can win this region. I think from a physical standpoint, how they control the clock, kind of like a Georgia Tech, where if they're going to play like an Armwood, they're going to keep it away from you, kind of milk the clock like they did against Jones. It would be crazy to say that take, but I'm just fooling with you guys. I think Armwood runs away with this. I would just love.
I was like, what?
Hey, I would love nothing more than Osceola to come away with this, just to give them some hype. But yeah, Armwood is the real deal, and I don't think we can even debate this. But I would love the matchup. I mean, that would be crazy. That would be just cool to have Osceola in a final, especially where they started the season. But I just think that Armwood is just that good. There's no question.
No,
I tell you, AJ, that's a tough draw for Melbourne. The Bulldogs to go up and play Armwood in that first round too.
Yeah, that's a real tough draw, because I think that Armwood, and call me crazy, but I think Armwood in all classifications, I think that's the best team in the state of Florida. So I think the matchup is Armwood versus Osceola. Osceola is a very respected program. So if Osceola was to beat Armwood, it wouldn't be like the surprise of a lifetime. But I do think Armwood will come out of this bracket, playing Osceola in the final.
Andy?
Well, I don't want to say calling me crazy, but I think the team to watch here, potentially, with the quarterback back with J.C. Marisola, is Plant. They've had to play without him for 4 games this season, and I think people, heading into this season, Plant was, looking a little bit like those old Robert Wiener Panthers of the past with those state titles. And I think the reason they took that kind of proverbial step back is they didn't have their guy under center. And I know when they played Armwood on a Thursday night, I mean, they stood toe to toe with them without their quarterback, and now, I mean, they just put up 67 points last week. I know the week before that they had over 40. The Panthers are starting to really kind of, to me, they're kind of similar to Berkeley Prep when you're thinking about a team that's kind of getting it together in these final weeks. And I feel like that Armwood Plant game is going to be a lot better than that first meeting. And getting to see Osceola against Jones, I feel like Osceola could absolutely make it interesting. But it would have to be a much, slower type game. They'd have to, make sure they don't turn it into a track meet. But you got two really good running backs that would go head to head with Swint and Pringle. So, obviously if you're a ground oriented guy, you'd be in for a treat, but we'll see. We'll see how this region shakes out.
And again, another district matchup between Osceola and Vera. And then also South Lake gets their first playoff berth here for a while, too. Let's get right into that Region 3. West Boca hosts Steinbrenner. Mitchell hosts Parrish. Palmetto hosts Largo. And then Wiregrass Ranch, Andy, hosts Royal Palm Beach.
Well, this one I've been talking to people about just because I feel like it's kind of a toss-up when you're thinking of like West Boca Raton, Wiregrass Ranch, Mitchell. Palmetto's had a really nice season. Their only losses to Manatee. I just saw Mitchell and Wiregrass Ranch play, and for all the Power 4 talent that Wiregrass Ranch has, which I know a lot of people went into that game feeling like the Bulls would win. Mitchell won, I think, by like 16, 18 points. Very well-coached team. I would say I wouldn't be surprised if they stayed, with West Boca Raton and ended up even, upsetting them and maybe, meets Wiregrass Ranch again. But I think all roads go through West Boca Raton. I think it's, their region to lose. And, with that Western loss that they had, and then they got a forfeit out of that, they're undefeated. So Dylan Potts, he's got his best team yet. We'll see if they can win the region.
All right, let's get right into Region 4 and close this thing out. South Broward goes to Miami Southridge, the number 1 seed. Monarch hosts Homestead. Piper hosts Durrell Academy. And West Broward hosts Flanagan, Andy. That's South Florida region.
Yeah. This is a tricky one just because you look at – I know all the talk was around Monarch, and last year Monarch had a lot of – just hype to them. They were able to get to the state semifinal, ended up losing to Mandarin, ended up going to the state title game against Columbus. But, you look at Southridge, kind of the improvements they've made this season. That second round matchup between Monarch and Southridge, I think is honestly, that's for this region. I think the winner of that game ends up winning the region just because those two teams have been the top teams in South Florida out of this group. And, you got to believe one of those teams would have an outside shot just because Armwood's in this to maybe compete for a state title.
All right, guys, let's get right into 7A. Here's the home stretch. Lake Mary is the number 1 seed, hosts the Bulldogs of DeLand. Palm Coast gets that matchup with a 5 seed with Spruce Creek. Seminole, the number 2 seed, goes on the road up to Northeast Florida to play Creekside. And then Orange City University hosts Winter Park, Baylin.
Yeah, this is exciting. I think 7A is very competitive. I think this is – looking at this, I'm going to be honest with you guys. DeLand is interesting here. This is not a team, especially coached by Darlington, that you're going to want to see in a first-round matchup. When you're talking about Lake Mary, because usually if you're the 1 seed, you pretty much have a pretty indication of a comfortable win, at least in the first round. This is not by any means necessary a comfortable situation for Lake Mary. Now, granted, they're at home. DeLand gives up a lot of points, which Lake Mary likes to score a lot. So I think that the difference will be how Lake Mary's defense can stop DeLand's run game, which they've done against Lakeland and Cardinal Gibbons and Osceola. So if that's the case, look for this to be ugly, and I'm talking ugly matchup here where Lake Mary blowout, but I just don't see it happening. I think it's going to be competitive, and I'm excited to see this game. I think Seminole, with the injuries that they have in key positions, like their left tackle, he's out. David Parks is out. Michael battling injury. One of the running backs is out. I just think that right now Seminole's depleted. This is going to – don't be surprised if they get upset week 1 on the road at Creekside. I don't see it happening, but I wouldn't be surprised if it did just because of the injury bug. I still think Seminole's a team to reckon with. University of Orange City, they might be the sleeper in that lower half of this region. they could easily beat Winter Park. And if they're healthy with Malachi Walters and a depleted Seminole team, they could beat Seminole and find themselves against Lake Mary in the region final. And I do think that Lake Mary does come out of this region on top.
AJ?
No, I think a lot of good talk there. I think Lake Mary and the D-Land is a good matchup. You never want to see that offense like I just talked about. No one has been able to stop freshman sensation Taj Moore all year. All you can do is hope to contain him. The young man had over 200 yards and 5 touchdowns last week. Then we move to the next matchup, Flagler Palm Coast Spruce Creek. That's another toss-up for me, honestly. I like Seminole to come through against Creekside. I love University to win decisively against Winter Park, and then keep going on. University could easily beat Seminole if they're not healthy, and we could see a University Lake Mary, and that would be good.
That would be interesting.
That would be good.
That would be interesting.
That would be good.
Andy, we miss anything there?
I just think that, Seminole couldn't be, healthy at this time to, be able to have that rematch with Lake Mary. I think that's kind of just the, it's a caveat there that's like, you'd like to see them healthy and be able to, just see these guys at their best. But obviously we're talking tons of teams are not, they're missing guys. So everybody's got to do what they got to do.
Yeah.
Seminole on paper is probably the best.
All right, let's get on to region. Let's get on to Region 2. Venice is the number 1 seed. They host Haines City. Newsom hosts Sumner. Plant City hosts Riverview. And then West Orange rematch. District game, West Orange and Apopka. Baylin.
Guys, call me crazy.
Crazy.
But it ain't happening this week. West
I
Orange
was like, oh, man.
Don't even go there. West Orange is going to beat Apopka. Let's not do that, okay? I was trying to start something here. But regardless of who wins that matchup or any of these matchups, Venice is going to coast the easiest walk, like Coco, to the final in this region. I don't even know if we're even really discussing this, but I think the coolest matchup is the West Orange Apopka rematch. I think that Apopka, that's cool that they even made the playoffs, so they'll be thankful for that because I thought they would have needed a game against Coco for strength of schedule to get them over the hump with how much they've lost this year. I believe they're into the playoffs 4-5 under 500, which is crazy. But, yeah, West Orange put a nice little whooping on Apopka. I don't see much changing there.
AJ?
Yeah, I like West Orange to win that matchup. I mean, honestly, I like Sumner because a couple of the guys played on my 7-on-7 team, but if we just be honest, this is Venice. You say like Coco, I don't know why you keep bringing Coco up because we already established that Coco doesn't have a cakewalk. Venice is strolling like Deion Sanders down the sideline, okay? So, like, that's just a total different situation. I like Venice all the way in this bracket, not even close.
All right, let's get right into Region 3. Palm Beach Central, sitting in the 1 spot, hosts Fort Pierce Central. Vero Beach hosts Lake Nona.
Ooh, Lake Nona.
Hosts Toho, and then Jupiter hosts Treasure Coast, Baylin.
All right, let's just get this one out of the way. Toho has absolutely zero chance to upset Dr. Phillips in the first round. So we just got that matchup in Central Florida out the way. And I don't care how good of an offense Toho has. They're not doing much of anything against Dr. Phillips. Not even. I think they get shut out. I think they lose 33-0 this week to Dr. Phillips. Let's just get that out of the way. I think Jupiter Treasure Coast is very interesting. Evenly matched ball game there. That can go either way. I would love to see Treasure Coast pull through with that one. Jupiter has a better resume, I think, but I would love Treasure Coast to obviously closer to us win that football game. Lake Nona, what a great year they've had. 7-3. Nobody counted them in when they lost all those transfers to Edgewater. Lake Nona got a blessing gift from Michael Dove, the Navy commit, transferred in, which has reached a district championship, has got that under their belt. 7-3. Vero Beach, though, guys, let's be honest, man, they're loaded with Division Power 4 talent. I think one of the craziest losses they had this year was against O'Galley early. But I honestly, I would love the upset, but it ain't happening. And that's.
Hey, I hope it doesn't come down to a kick because I got to give it to Lake Nona. I got to give it a trade.
I don't think that happens. I think it's a 2-score game or more for Vero. Dr. Phillips does win this region, though. I think this is their year with the defense. I think special teams and how Stanley's been playing consistently. Dr. Phillips would lay an egg if they don't get through this region. Honestly, this is theirs to lose. This is their year. They got everything, all the pieces in the right places at the right spots in the senior gap. I think they're heavily senior in the right positions, which is going to help them win. I believe in this type of deal. So I think Dr. Phillips wins this region. I'm pulling for him.
AJ?
Yep, congrats to Lake Nona making the playoffs. Congrats to Toho. But this Palm Beach Central is a very quality team. But I like everything about Dr. Phillips in this bracket. I don't see any team beating Dr. Phillips. I think that Dr. Phillips win. I've been saying it all year. It's a special club, especially after I saw him beat Lake Mary. It's just a special season for them. So I like DP to win this bracket.
Andy, what are we missing?
Well, I think Vero Beach and Dr. Phillips is going to be a really interesting game just because the Fighting Indians started off the year with 3 straight losses, which, you look at the teams that they lost to in O'Galley, Buchholz, Homestead, and then they just went ahead and ran the table with 7 straight wins, and one of those was over Miami Booker T. Washington, a team that, I feel like has state championship aspirations themselves. So, but I would have to agree. Dr. Phillips, offensively, very strong. Just kind of this should be the region to win, but I think Vero Beach, obviously, they're going to have a huge say in it. I would expect that to be the region final.
All right, Region 4, finally. Columbus, number 1 seed down in South Florida, hosts Spanish River. Seculaes, Centralese hosts South Dade. Miami Palmetto hosts Western. Boca Raton host Goldman. Andy?
You know what? The team to watch for isn't the 1, the 2, the 3, the 4, the 5, or the 6 seed. It's Western. It's Western. That's the team in this region. I know Columbus, you just think of the state titles they recently won, but there is no Alberto Mendoza back there. This is a different team. They do, still talented, but this Western team has been able to hang with, many of the state's best teams. And if not, having to yield a couple forfeits, I mean, they'd be seated much higher. But I mean, they're still really talented across the board. I expect them to get out of this region. I'd say this is probably the only one. This is the only region where you would talk about a seed lower than 4 winning it all in the region and having a shot to even win a state title. And they're that good.
All right, guys, that is the 2024 playoffs. Let's go ahead and close this thing up. Baylin, I'm going to start with you. Final thoughts.
Windermere completes their season 10-0. I'll always end the show like that. But no, on all jokes aside, I think this is an exciting time. I think that we're finally going to see multiple Central Florida teams represented in the state championship game this year, which has been Miami heavy, as we've always talked about. I would love nothing more than 3 state champions coming out of the state of Florida, but our Central Florida, minus obviously the SSAC, which we'll get a couple of those probably this weekend, even with 4 and 6 records. But I think Masters Academy does bring us our first real state title with a good team. But I think this is a year for Central Florida. I'm putting a stamp on it. Mark my words. We're going to get at least 1. I would love 3, and I think we can do it.
All right, AJ.
Yeah, I think this is a good year for us. I just want to give a shout out to all of the teams that made the playoffs. Congratulations on a successful season. Just realize that the new season starts this week, so stay focused, stay locked in. Anything can happen. Best of luck to all of those teams, all of those coaches. And yeah, let's rock out and see how we can do in Central Florida.
And our special guest tonight, Andy Villamarza, final thoughts.
How does the state deal with potentially another hurricane coming at the state? To me, that's the elephant in the room, right?
Can you imagine if we have to delay week 1?
Yeah, Well,
Guys, we're not speaking this into existence, please.
Hey, first of all, we already had to delay week 1. We had to have a week 12, right? So it kind of really messes some things up. So we pray that does not happen. But you're absolutely right. I'll tell you what, I think the exciting thing at the end of the day is we can talk till we're blue in our face, but the games are settled on the field. And what we talk about next week, are there going to be some surprises? Are there going to be some upsets that we did not expect? I think that's going to be the biggest thing. For AJ Brooks and Baylin Trujillo, and thank you again, Andy Villamarza, for joining us. I'm Dan LaForest. You're watching the Central Florida High School Scoreboard Show right here on Varsity Sports Nation, and we'll see you next Wednesday.
Varsity Sports Nation. Unleash the champion within.